be by Ms. Karen Watford. And Karen, after the invocation, we're going to call the young. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the day we have been given to enjoy your fall creation, to breathe the air you provide, and tonight to do the important work of our county. With your guidance, help us to be grounded in humble concern for our citizenry. In her book, A Book of Hope, Helen Steiner Rice shares these thoughts. Do justice, employ loving kindness, and walk humbly with God. May these thoughts guide us always. Amen.
Amen. If the young Marines will come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, when y'all ready.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have you back on the agenda in just a little while, too. We're down to recognitions. I want to say that Dr. Emily Lappy is the Lexington Chamber is representing the Council on Chambers tonight. Ms. Lippy is the superintendent of our county school system, so glad to have you here, Emily. And we have another recognition. Zeb, you want to make mention on the transportation system?
Yes, sir. We always like to make mention when our folks are recognized nationally. Recently at the BusCon, which is the largest bus show in North America, our transportation system, which I saw our folks here if they'd like to come up. You and your folks here?
Oh, yeah.
A few years ago, probably 2012, we switched some of our buses to a dual fuel where they can run propane or gas, whichever's cheaper. Last year we used about 51,000 gallons of propane to operate our buses, the ones that run between Thomasville, Lexington, and the community college. And so, Richard, I think, do we have a picture, Debbie, or you have it in your packet? Richard out there accepting the award. He's a little bit sideways.
Laying down.
Laying down on the job, Richard.
It looks good, buddy.
Richard has some of his folks. Richard, if you got the award and everything. Would you like to say a few things and recognize your folks? And I'll turn it over to you. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you. This is pretty much our team, except for the garage folks. And the propane, switching over to that, how many gallons, that saves about 50 cents a gallon over gas.
That's great.
On average. So a considerable amount of savings for the county and our fueling. And the next couple of buses will also have propane capability, so we'll continue with that program.
Yeah. Didn't I say it saved 14,000 trees over 10 years? Was that the calculation?
Wow.
Good profit.
Yeah. Good profit.
Richard, is that a switch or is it a straight propane?
Now, these are biofuel, so when the propane tanks run out, it automatically switches to gas.
Is it gas or diesel?
Gas.
Gas.
Yes.
Plus, like I say, if gas gets cheaper, they can flip it to gas and just keep up. So.
You know, I meet with Richard and the transportation at least once a month, and you guys and girls both are doing a great job. You really are. And I think we're looking at maybe some electric in this too, if we can later, aren't we?
If they ever do the smaller ones.
Yeah.
So far, they don't have any small enough.
But you are, congratulations on that. You're doing a great job. You really are.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Y'all stay there. I'm gonna get a picture.
What's her name?
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Great job.
I could give about 3 of them a hard time because my daddy hired them. He's been gone since 2008. So they've been with us a good while. Kathy, Lynette, and Joy. So,
Oh, yeah. You know, also on our recognition tonight, I got, our senator is here with us tonight, Eddie Gallimore. I guess he thought I was gonna forget him, but I saved him to. But thank you for what you're doing for us in Raleigh also.
Mr. Chairman, we also have our chairman of our Lexington School Board and our superintendent here tonight.
Okay, we got all the schools.
Some of their school board members. I see a few of them out there. Angela.
There we go.
My friend Darren's here tonight, I know.
But Darren's always asking for money. We remember him.
Way to go, Darren.
You ready to play a little ball, Derek? I am. I just don't have it anymore.
And I think we got the superintendent from the Lexington, Thompson City Schools is here too, I believe.
No.
Well, anyway, all y'all special guests. All right. If you haven't registered for public address, if you wanna speak tonight, you still got time to get up here and sign up. We're gonna do that right after we adopt the agenda, which we're gonna do now. Community colleges. Asked that, request by Davidson County Community Colleges for a letter of support for sustainable agriculture be added to consent agenda as item 8W, so if you're keeping the agenda there, you might add that on. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Can I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, if you cast your vote.
And that motion carries 7-0.
Next item, public address is.
Mr. Hill.
Sign?
Mr. Hill's the only one, sir.
Barney Hill.
Barney W. Hill. Agenda item 8, Foxtrot.
8 what?
Foxtrot F.
F. Okay.
It has been too long since I last reminded you how much I am against the PBB program. I will delete the Assistant County Manager's 4th and 6th recommendations for budget amendments. I am even more against the forfeiture fund than I am against the PBB program. Civil asset forfeiture violates the sanctity of private property, makes a mockery of federalism, and tempts local law enforcement with perverse incentives. Thus, I would also delete the Assistant County Manager's 3rd recommendation. Agenda item 8, golf. I would not upgrade and fund the authorized but unfunded position. The rationale sounds flimsy. Agenda item 8, kangaroo. Do you think that a government library system needs a logo and a brand? I don't.
Okay, that ends our public address. Next item is our public hearings. Our first public hearing will be, Project Titan, Economic Development Grant. Public hearing's open. Craig, you'll lead it off for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The Davidson County EDC has been working with Project Titan, a project that could result in a capital investment of $79,100,000 and create a minimum of 25 new jobs. with an average annual wage exceeding the county's average of $39,800. At this time, we are requesting that the board approve an economic development grant of .00432 times the new investment, not to exceed $341,712 per year for a period of 5 years, provided the company meets the requirements of the grant agreement. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Greg? Not right now. I'll might have some in a minute or something, but not now.
Thank you.
Thank you. The public hearing is open now, so is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak for or against this, incentive grant?
Divide .0060 by .0048, and you get .80. Divide .0054 by .00432, and you also get .80. So, at least for this project, Project Titan, the reimbursement rate for both Thomasville and the county is 80%. I hope that 80% replaces 50% as the standard GS 158-7.1 reimbursement rate. But it takes just 3 little words to destroy much of the beneficial effect of the enhanced reimbursement rate. Even though most of you acknowledge the pure idiocy of capping the amount of the annual reimbursement, which is determined by the amount of investment, the phrase "not to exceed" remains in the first sentence of paragraph 4 on page 2 of the draft contract. And you just heard Mr. Goodson repeat that same phrase. Not to exceed, and we've talked about it so much. You have the power to erase those words. I can support any GS 158-7.1 package which transfers wealth only from the applicant to the applicant. I prefer a GS 158-7.1 package with the enhanced reimbursement rate, but without that killer phrase.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak?
My name is Brandon Tucker. First, I want to thank the Davidson County Commissioners for inviting us to a public input session on Project Titan, and I hope you all are having a good evening. If you were at the City Council meeting yesterday, you'd know what I'm about to say. I want to share what happened to the city where I moved from. I used to live in Shreveport, Louisiana, and when I was in middle school, the neighboring parish or county in North Carolina built a magnificent building to try and bring in the U.S. Cyber Command headquarters. They went millions of dollars in debt trying to build this building and driving them almost to financial insolvency. Sadly, their risky endeavor ended up not panning out. The U.S. Cyber Command went elsewhere. So this highly secure building went almost unused for a couple years. I ultimately moved away, found a job in a different state. However, after a number of years, after construction was complete, Computer Science Corporation ended up signing a multi-million-dollar deal, bringing in thousands of exceptionally paying jobs to the area. That's when I moved back. You all know all too well what happens. Your children grow up, and they leave Thomasville for a better life, because the jobs just aren't there. Their tax dollars disappear, and after 1 or 2 generations, they don't even visit Thomasville anymore. Project Titan is good for Thomasville because it's bringing those jobs back and laying a foundation for more business to come. That's what Thomasville needs. We need to build business to bring your children, your grandchildren back. We need to build a better Thomasville. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for or against this proposal? Okay, I close the public hearing to the audience and bring it back to the board. And I do have a question for Mr. Goodson then. This gentleman was saying that he was with Thomasville last night. Did they approve, their part of the grant?
Same package.
Same package?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Goodson or anybody? Okay. Can I have a motion and a second to, approve or disapprove this economic development incentive for Project Titan?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion we approve.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion and a second to approve. If you'll cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, our next public hearing is the non-emergency ambulance ordinance revision. Declare this public hearing open, and, Larry James will lead this off.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll be glad to
Okay.
start if I might.
Okay.
The board has considered the non-emergency ambulance ordinance several times over the last several years, and the requested amendments tonight are fairly technical in their format. If you look at, I'm going to just point the board's direction to, I think, what are the 2 most significant changes. At the top of page 5, this is under the application for franchise and the information that any entity that is applying for a franchise to operate an ambulance in the county has to submit. And under that section, it previously required an audited financial statement of the applicant in such form as required by the county. What we learned from several applicants was that this was a very expensive requirement, and that it was costing them well into 5 figures in order to provide the county with an audited financial statement. And so, Mr. James and I spent some time with the county manager talking about whether we really needed that an extensive an evaluation, and relying upon Zeb's expertise as a CPA. We came back with a proposed amendment, and that is the language you see before you tonight, which is a compilation of the financial statement for the applicant performed and submitted by an independent accountant. And so that is a standard which would still require the submission of financial information. However, it doesn't require the same level of investigation and authentication, if I'm saying it right, Zeb, and would not put the same burden on the applicant for an audited financial statement. And it seemed to be a satisfactory compromise to still get information by which the director could evaluate the application. The second, probably most significant change is on page 4 under application for franchise. And this is to, yes, sir.
I don't know about the others, but our pages aren't numbered. If you could give us the lead off number.
Yes,
easy to
sir.
refer
I
to.
apologize for that. This is it's under section 96.11E.
Thank you.
And let me see if I can find that in what's published online. Commissioner Shell, if you look down,
I found it in 96E,
yes, sir.
pretty easy when you gave the number.
Yes, sir. And forgive me, but if you will move back the page before that, and it's under 9611, application for franchise.
Yes.
And this is in the introductory paragraph there. Mr. James had told us that it would be better if the applications for franchise were submitted at a set time every year when, as outside of the busy season, so to speak, for his work, or a less busy season, I should say, for his work, and would give him an opportunity to consider them in a timely manner. And so the proposal here would suggest that applications would be submitted during the month of August of each calendar year. There are some other technical changes, which I'm going to ask Larry to speak to if he would, but what was really driving this coming back before the board tonight was to try to find a different standard for the financial statement that would not be so difficult for the applicant to meet.
When we speak of the applicant, do we advertise and bid this out, or how do we get non-emergency?
When an organization would like to operate in the county, they will typically contact us and want franchise application information. We'll send them a copy of the ordinance and also a franchise application package. At that point, once they see what they have to submit, they make a decision whether they want to move forward and complete the application package and turn it in and follow the procedure to try to get a franchise, which includes our reviewing their information and then setting a public hearing to come in front of the Board of Commissioners.
So we could have more than one, we could have 2 or 3
You can
franchises.
have as many as you want.
Okay.
We currently have one, is that correct?
Currently have one.
And that's,
PTAR. Piedmont Triad
Piedmont
Ambulance and
Triad.
Rescue, PTAR.
We did have 2, and then Davidson Rescue stopped,
Correct.
yes.
As far as the other changes, just a few housekeeping things under 96.10. We just added a little verbiage in there to better clarify the operational level that a franchise would operate at. And we added the terms that a franchise is required for non-emergency ambulance calls that originate in the county. So someone that would be transporting from a position outside the county back into the county would not be required to have a franchise to do so. And also, we just done a little housekeeping under, I think it's 96.16. Yes, 96.16. B. We just added the word agreements in the area where it is asking for FCC communication licenses, a current agreement or authorization. Those are the basic changes that we have to the ordinance.
Is a lot of that communication via radio system?
Yes, what that section pertains to is basically FCC licenses to use radio communications on certain frequencies.
And it has to be compatible with whatever
Correct.
franchise they
Correct.
see.
Correct. And that's what that section speaks to. And some organizations may have an FCC license, and some may just have a written agreement from the county stating they can use that particular frequency.
Okay, are there any other questions for Larry? Okay, thank you, Larry. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of or against this revision?
Should have asked him while he was up here. What's the difference between an agreement and an authorization? And shouldn't those kind of terms be in the definitions in case We don't have the director available, at home. All right? This is always a frustrating exercise for me. Incremental changes miss the point. I want to revisit the heart of the ordinance, the franchise. I want to revisit it to say goodbye to it. The franchise is a medieval concept that doesn't belong in the 21st century, neither does this ordinance. Other non-emergency activities rely on unfettered consumer choice. This one should too.
Okay, the public hearing's still open. Anyone else would like to speak in favor or in opposition? All right, I declare the public hearing closed to the audience and return it to the board here. Do I have any?
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Mr. James, if I say we've got this down to 1 month. But let's say there's a crisis going on, let's say we've had a hurricane, a natural disaster. As long as they've emailed it to you or given it to you, it's, even if you can't get to it until November.
Yes, sir, as long as it's received by the county within the month of August, whatever form.
Okay.
Then they will be considered.
Okay, I just wanna, I'm kinda like Barney here on this, that I hate to see us close the doors on it, but also understand protecting the citizens and making sure that when they hire non-emergency transport, they're getting something reputable. But I just wanted to make sure we're not locking others out.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, you know, I agree with you. I wanna talk to Larry sometime later, not tonight, but, on this same subject, we gotta look at these a little closer than what we're doing, I think. But thank you.
Do you feel like relaxing this, requirement for the, audited statement will encourage other?
Yes, we currently have interest right now, and some of the interest expressed the, financial burden it would put on their business because of the previous, stipulation for the audited financial statement it was gonna cause on their business due to the high cost of having that done. So there is interest, and you'll be hearing again for some, information for some applicants that will be coming.
Thank you.
These calls that, for example, people receive, part of it's from the county, part is from individuals, is that correct, or where do those calls originate?
They are received from the hospitals, from the nursing homes, and from individuals.
So the county doesn't dispatch a private?
No.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, most of it from the hospitals, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions from the board?
Barney is asking me why it's limited to the month of August.
Why it's what?
What was the question?
That's a good question, yeah, I'll answer that.
The month of August, we discussed it with, the attorney's office and determined that, based on August falling after the new budget, it would be the less, stressful month for us to handle these things coming in, and we could review them and have them done in the fall prior to budget season hitting us after the first of the year when we're working on budgets, not only our office, but the attorney's office as well as the manager's office. And, August seemed like a good month for that. We have, reviewed some other counties around us and in the state to see what they did. Some of them their ordinances say they lock theirs down to specific months, but they don't specify what those months are. I think they change them based on the board's wishes year by year. For South County says they will accept applications over a 2-month period, but again, that's at the board's wishes each year. I think it can float.
What would be the downside to taking them at any time? I don't think you're gonna have a ton of applications anyhow. So what would be
Just the amount of time it takes to review these, and if they hit us during the budget time, it's real difficult for our office as well as pushing this off on the attorney's office and the manager's office to review as well when we're trying to compile budgets.
So you could take them 9 months out the year, not 1 month out the year?
You could.
Well, that's kind of what I agree with Commissioner Yates here. I mean, if you took them from May to August and just say, we're not even gonna open them and do anything with them until August, and then come September 1st, that's when you would start the process and review them. I agree with Commissioner Yates, because what'll happen is you're gonna get people that's gonna miss that month. That's what I think, but.
Well, my thinking is you just take them 9 months out of the year and you'd review them as they come in. If the candidate's qualified to participate with a franchise, then you go ahead and issue a franchise.
That's totally up to the board. If they would like to expand that time frame, that's more than acceptable. We were just having issues with some of the applications that we've had inquiries that have came in during our budget time. They ended up not submitting applications or even turning their package back in. But based on some conversations with the attorney's office, we decided that, we needed to shrink the time frame down so we're not getting these things during the year and then do not have the appropriate time to give each applicant a good review.
I'd say scratch out the 2 or 3 months during the budget cycle, and the rest of the year you can accept applications and
Does it take a lot of time to review these applications? If they're gonna make sure that they're reputable folks, they're gonna take.
There's a lot of information. Usually it's a 3-ring binder of information that the applicant has to turn in. It takes our office a while, and then once we finish with it, it goes to the attorney's office, and he pretty much starts from the beginning again and goes all through it. A lot of insurance information, a lot of background information on each applicant, along with their complete proposal of how they're going to operate.
Mr. Chairman, there are 2 applications that are sitting on my desk now, and he said they're a 3-ring binder, but I believe they're actually a 3-inch 3-ring binder, and they are full.
Yes.
And so the application process is extensive, and it requires a lot of information. I was trying to recall how many pages the printed application itself is.
The application's not so many pages, it's just all of the
number of entries
supplemental
there, yes.
information they have to turn in to go with it.
Mr. Yates, in response to your inquiry, the board may wish to consider substituting in place, and this is just a thought, but application for a franchise to operate ambulances in the county shall be accepted by the county during the period of August 1 through December 31 of each calendar year.
I'm good with that. Does the application, when they turn in the application, do we have any control over what they charge these citizens in Davidson County to transport, or do
they cannot exceed the current charges charged by Davidson County EMS, and that is in the ordinance. But that's the maximum they can charge, but there is nothing in the ordinance that speaks to how little they can charge. So they could charge the least amount they wanted to maybe generate more business, but they cannot exceed what Davidson County EMS charges.
I'm just curious as to why the month of August wouldn't be sufficient time for everybody to file. And if they file it at the same time, it gives the attorney and the EMS folks the ability to review it all in 1 month. I can't see anybody that wants to do business in the county being burdened by having to do it in a particular month. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know what you gain by extending it from August to December. I think that, if you My question is, why can't they do it in the month that's specified? Because that's the time that we designate to do it. If we open it up, then you could get one in August, another one in September, one in December, and they have to go through this stuff, every month with it. I think that people, if they want to do business in Davidson County, they could do it in August.
I might be looking at this wrong, Mr. Chairman, but if, you was to get everything in 1 month, how many applications might you receive? And would that not put the attorney's office and your office at a bigger burden trying to cover all of those in 1 month than to spreading it out a little bit, seeing how they're 3 inches?
Right. And you never know how many you're gonna get. Right now,
I'd hate for us to, it's good that we get 20. Hopefully, they're gonna charge our citizens the less, but if we would get 20 and now you only have 1 month to review them, that's a big burden.
well, that's the month that we take them.
Okay.
It doesn't say that that's the only month we review them. We take the amount of time that it takes to review them. And there are times that their application is insufficient with certain parts, then I have to call them back and they have to resubmit certain parts of it. So this process can take a while. One of the applicants now had to resubmit several sections because it was insufficient. So, just because we take them in that month doesn't mean that they're all completed in that same month.
Gotcha.
What he's saying is it could take you 6 or 8 months to review 20 applications. That's how many you get, correct?
I doubt you're gonna get 20 applications.
I think we've had 2 since in 9 years that I've been here, maybe.
We currently have 2 right now.
Right, but I'm saying 2 additional ones that I remember.
Yes.
Not what we're doing right now, so it's not every day somebody wants to do this. But what I'm saying is, I just hate to see a company come in that may miss the August deadline and have to wait a whole year before they can file again. I mean, that just don't make sense in, the free world, that's how it should be.
Do they have to file each year?
Excuse me?
Each year, do they?
No. They initially file when they want to obtain the franchise, and once they go through the entire process, if they obtain a franchise by the Board of Commissioners, that franchise period is good for 4 years. Within 90 days of their franchise expiring, they will resubmit their paperwork again. And it goes through the same review process.
Do you recall how many we had last time? Just
one.
We only have one franchisee right now.
I know we got one, but I mean, how many applications did we have? Just that one?
Yes.
Commissioner Yates, I like what,
So if we talk about 20, then we actually talk about one.
Yeah, you're only gonna get 1 or 2. I mean, there's not 20 organizations looking to get a franchise.
That's not every year, that's every 4 years.
That would be every 4 years when they renew.
Once they approve it, that's every 4 years. And the chances if you having other folks come in besides that, or swim.
One more question, then I'm gonna let them talk. Do you do any, non-emergency transporting, or is it all?
Not this type. Not this type of non-emergency transport. Not this type of non-emergency transport is hospital to hospital, hospital back to a nursing home or assisted living facility, residence to a doctor's appointment, that kind of thing.
So you don't do any of that?
We do not do that.
Okay.
Just like, one more question, this is you'd mentioned several times that you had gotten with the county attorney and this is what y'all decided would be the best for your organization?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
But I understood that, Chuck alluded to the fact that the application process was made simpler so to encourage more participation, is that correct? Or do we not want participation?
No, I think we would want to encourage participation and competition within that, but I think, as one of the commissioners said a moment ago, there's a very limited pool of applicants for this.
But could it not be because of the fact that, the registration period is so strict?
We don't have that.
And why are we changing it if we're okay with what we got?
Well, I don't think the registration period, previously we haven't had a registration period. This was proposed by the director as a way of, I think, of, recognizing some challenges within his department and trying to accept and to process applications at a time that there are fewer challenges in the office. As a practical matter, we can do this at any time, but there's also an expectation that once you receive an application, that within a timely period, you process it and move on it. And this isn't something that we want to have in hand for an extended period, even though the franchise does not speak specifically to it.
With that smaller number, it doesn't really matter when we get these applications, does it?
Well, the burden on this I don't want to say that my office doesn't do much with it, but we certainly don't have the burden that the director has, because he goes through the application, which is in the front of that binder, the application form, and then usually it will have quite a number of tabs behind that, and those tabs speak to each of those procedural requirements that's set out in the application. And as he indicated, you sent one back 3 times?
Yes.
And, that he does hold them to the standard that's set out there.
But we're still talking about one application.
We're talking about one application, yes. And, again, what was really driving this, recommendation for an amendment to the franchise ordinance was to try to lower the cost to the applicant by deleting the element for an audited financial statement. And these other elements, we thought, okay, these are things that if we're going to be talking about any amendment, let's go ahead and bring them up. But
all those encourage participation.
I believe they do.
Mm-hmm. And it's for the convenience of the public, is it not? Not for the convenience of county government?
Of course.
Okay.
Again, they have an opportunity to file. They want to file, they file in August. When we bid out anything, we have bid conferences, and then we have bid openings, and if the contractors don't make the bid openings, they don't get the bid. So, most of these people are accustomed to meeting deadlines, and they don't have an issue with that. The issue here is the amount of work that it puts on our department when they're trying to do the duties of EMS and all the other things concerned. We're not talking about a dozen applications or anything else. And once they file the application, we're not talking about even talking with them for another 4 years. So I can't see as this puts a burden on anybody to get their application in the month of August. That's the month that our EMS folks would prefer.
Well, that's for the convenience of county government to do it in August. And you're talking about 1 or 2 applications, and I don't think that our director has any problem with doing it any time of the year when you got time. You're just as busy in August as you are any other time, aren't you?
Mr. Chairman, are you ready for a motion?
That's budget time. Alleviating budget time.
All right, he called a question, so,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this with the amendment that the county attorney had listed, which was 8/1 to December 31st each calendar year, to accept them.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, if you'll cast your vote, you remember now, if this is not unanimous, it has to come back for a second reading.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask just to make sure that I read that, or could read that back to the board so that it's consistent with what the board is voting on? The way that I had written that down was under section 96.11. It would read in the amended form that application for a franchise to operate ambulances in the county shall be accepted by the county during the period of August 1 through December 31 of each calendar year.
I believe that's what you said, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Okay. You cast your vote.
I think that'll work for you, Mr. James?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All of the votes are in,
We need to talk to him about this.
and that motion carries 6-1.
Oh, ambulance, $600.
So this will be on for a second reading on November the 12th.
$100.
If
I
that's
agree.
okay with the board.
I'm sorry. What was that, Madam Clerk?
6-1, that's so it'll have to come back
Come back on November 12th, if that's
on
okay.
November 12th for a second reading. Thank you. Okay, what's our next? Next one is the request here is the rezoning, Brian Lucas and R.O. Lexington LLC in Cotton Grove Township. Guy will be coming up for this, I think.
Conditional use highway commercial.
Okay. I didn't see it.
You have a request by Brian Lucas on behalf of Rock Outdoors Lexington LLC to rezone property in Cotton Grove Township, tax map 24, lot 39, containing approximately 2.36 acres more or less. Property is located on the west side of NC Highway 8, approximately 1,800 feet south of the Feezer Road intersection. Rezoning is requested to change from that of RA1 and RA2, Rural Agricultural District, to that of CUHC, Conditional Use Highway Commercial District. Mr. Brian Lucas is present tonight. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so we'll need to swear in anyone who wishes to speak.
All right, I declare the public hearing open, and anyone that wants to speak for or against in this needs to be sworn in. All right. Do you swear that the testimony you shall give to the board shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, and Barney,
Mr. Hill, do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give, if any, will be the truth and nothing but the truth, that there is only one who can know the whole truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
so Mr. Lucas, if you'll come on up now.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Brian Lucas. I represent Rock Outdoors, a fairly new business to this area. We are under contract to purchase what's represented as parcel number 39 on the map, just south of us, to expand some storage and to honestly alleviate some of our parking issues that we've had during some of our events at the store. I'm more than happy to answer anybody's questions.
Just for the record, the property owner of record is Annie Miller, and Mr. Arnold Miller, who has power of attorney for the estate, signed the application in support of the request.
Okay. Are there any questions for Mr. Lucas at this time? Okay, we might have some in a minute.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, the public hearing is open, as I said, so anyone in the audience would like to speak for or against this request, please come forward.
So little to say, speaks for itself. This rezoning request demonstrates that it can be as easy to expand a conditional use district as it is to expand a general use district, especially if the list of conditions remains the same. That should please connoisseurs of contiguity like you. And he didn't say anything about how fast he's been expanding, but he told the planning board about it. And if there ever was a conditional use district that needed to be expanded, it is this one. I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Is anyone else who'd like?
proceed.
Well, I thought I had one. Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing to the audience and return it to Guy.
Sure. The planning board did, discuss this matter at its meeting, back, a couple of weeks ago, and, on the, October 1st, and they did recommend 5-0 to, recommend approval of the request as it was presented. If you would like to look at it, legislatively first, I can point to you that it is contiguous to the Highway Commercial District. I think most of the or all the board members are familiar with their property, and this would be very similar if they're going to use it for boat storage. It's fronts NC Highway 8, while not a designated corridor, but it is a traffic arterial street that carries a lot of boat traffic to and from High Rock Lake, and this would help capture a lot of that lake traffic, and it is a needed service for those that have boats on High Rock Lake, and it would fit nicely with their existing business. So at this time, staff would recommend that based on policies 5.5 and 5.7 of the Land Development Plan, we would recommend approval, and we've kind of put those into your resolution of consistency as well.
Okay. Are there any? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion, we approve this with a statement of consistency.
I'd be happy to second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. So if you'll cast your vote.
Nice looking store.
It's a nice store.
We're very proud.
I need to come by there and see if you got any big suction cups from a boat.
We do check mostly, sir.
Did you get it now, Dave?
Okay.
All right, and we'll
Okay,
need
now
to, remember, we'll also need to look at the
Conditional use,
conditional,
right.
yes, sir. And, what he's proposing to do is to use these same conditions that he has in effect for his current business. And, he would like to, you have those as part of your agenda packet. But what I'd like to point out to you is he simply wants to, move the landscaping, down to the southern end of the property so that he'll have that buffering in place for the outdoor storage yard. So, and he'll keep, I think, you want to talk about that?
Yes, so our ultimate goal here is, there currently is a buffer, so we're commercial against residential currently, a buffer between our site 32 and the site 39. We basically just move that down to make the buffer between 39 and 38. So it's still, and then our intention is to then combine those two parcels into one parcel, so that's just one tax bill.
Right.
And we want you to pay those.
Every year, man. Smile on our face.
Okay, is there any more questions for Mr. Lucas on this? All right, can I have a motion to approve this conditional use permit?
I'll make
Make
that
a
motion.
motion to approve that conditional use permit with the, correction of number 2 landscaping.
I'll second that.
All right, will you cast your vote?
All the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
I believe that's all of our public hearings.
Just have one item.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, now we're to the
Consent.
consent agenda. Are there anyone that would like any item removed from the consent agenda for discussion? Not, can I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
I want to take off 8U, please.
8U. 8U. Okay. Okay, any other? All right, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item 8U?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, 8U, bid award for single stream recycling.
I'm gonna take the lead on this one just for a moment. Mr. Yates brought this to my attention earlier, and I'm gonna ask Dwayne if he'll come on up. As you know, we've been paying month to month on the recycling. So what you have before you is a bid tabulation for 3 bids, with one low bid with North Davidson Garbage. However, kind of looking at it, they've got a caveat in here of holding a price for 90 days. That seems to me to be kind of non-responsive bid. The other bidders didn't get a chance to lay those ground rules out with us. So the bid specs were for through the fiscal year, June 30th. So I'm gonna call that an incomplete bid, a non-responsive bid. My respectful request to the board is to go ahead and move with the second low bid, which is Waste Management of the Carolinas. We're talking $4 difference, and of course, as you know, the market moves around on this stuff pretty volatilely. So at any point in time, these vendors have the ability to exercise their 30 days as well. If this stuff goes to $500 a ton or whatever may have you in the future. But that's my respectful request to the board, if I can, Mr. Chairman. Dwayne's here if you got any questions about the rest of the bid process.
Okay, is that satisfy you too? All right, Dwayne. Are there any questions for Dwayne?
Yeah, Dwayne,
You could,
right out of the park. Dwayne, did you, reach out to, North Davidson Garbage and verify the 90-day part not being consistent with the bid?
No, sir, I did not. I received his bid, opened it in the presence of the folks from the landfill. We looked at them, all agreed, and that's the recommendation that we made.
Of course, Dwayne highlighted for me this afternoon, and we're in the bid specs, it clearly says we're looking for prices through June 30, 2020.
Okay,
So,
well, I just wanted to ask.
and that's the reason why I'm bringing this up. To me, him adding that in, on his own volition just makes this kind of an incomplete bid, so.
Okay.
I mean, I hate that for him.
Yeah.
They don't put it on.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
and I
highlighted
agree.
also. It wasn't just
Yeah.
in the Ts and Cs.
Yeah, oh, I agree. That's just what I wanted
We'd
to ask.
all stipulate our contract bids to say whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and put little asterisks beside of them and.
are there any other questions for Dwayne or anybody? Do I have a motion to approve the single stream recycling?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, if you got a motion second, let's cast our vote.
Point of clarification, approved it.
Am I making that?
Can you get your vote?
As a point of clarification, this is to approve the bid to Waste Management, is that correct?
I'm not sure if anyone added that to the motion. We are awarding the bid to the next low bid, Waste Management. I just wanna make sure that's clear in the motion.
That's what I gathered out of it.
Okay. Forgive me, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah,
that
we
was
wanna make
clear
sure
in
it's on the record.
Thank you.
Good.
Yes, sir.
All of those votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we're down to deliberations, so if anybody's got a camera or a phone, you take pictures after a while. We're gonna do some proclamations now. The first proclamation is the Red Ribbon Week by the Davidson County Young Marines. Mr. McClure will, lead this, proclamation for me. If the Young Marines will come on up.
While they're passing that out, I'll start. It's recognizing October 23rd through October 31st as Red Ribbon Week in Davidson County. Whereas the County of Davidson and Davidson County Board of Commissioners value the health and safety of all our citizens, and whereas substance abuse stands as one of the major challenges our county faces in securing a safe and healthy future for our children. And whereas communities across America have been plagued by the numerous problems associated with illicit drug use and those that traffic in them. And whereas there is hope in winning the war on drugs, and that hope lies in education and drug demand reduction. coupled with the hard work and determination of organizations such as the Young Marines of the Marine Corps League to foster a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. And whereas governments and community leaders know that citizen support is one of the most effective tools in the effort to reduce the use of illicit drugs in our communities. And whereas the red ribbon has been chosen as a symbol commemorating the work of Enrique Camarena, a Drug Enforcement Administration agent who was murdered in the line of duty, and represents the belief that one person can make a difference. And whereas the Red Ribbon Campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement in drug prevention and reduction efforts. And whereas October 23 through 31 has been designated National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. And whereas the Young Marine Program of Davidson County promotes family and individual responsibility for living healthy, drug-free lifestyles, and have requested in furtherance of their mission that Davidson County adopt this resolution recognizing Red Ribbon Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Davidson County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim October 23rd through October 31st as Red Ribbon Week. In Davidson County, and urge all citizens to join in the week's activities to raise awareness of the dangers of alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, and to encourage prevention, early intervention, and treatment services. Adopted 22nd day of October, 2019. And I would make a motion that we approve.
Do you have a second to Mr. McClure's motion?
A second.
All right, if you cast your vote.
All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Or if y'all young men will come up and, I'm sure they're gonna take some pictures here. And, Senator, won't you come up with us?
Where you won't be at, Don?
Just come on up here with these guys. We got the senator in here with y'all.
Who do you want to present this to? I got one copy, so y'all can all have it. There's your resolution. Appreciate it.
1, 2, 3. More. 1, 2, 3.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, red ribbon.
I went horseback riding yesterday. I'm sore too.
The next proclamation is the Epilepsy Awareness Month, Epilepsy Awareness Month, November. Commissioner Elliott will, take care of this one. Go ahead, Chris.
It's my honor to read this proclamation for Epilepsy Awareness Month. Whereas the health and the safety of all the citizens is important to the happiness, prosperity, and well-being of our county's families and communities. And whereas epilepsy is a neurological condition characterized by recurrent, unprovoked seizures, and whereas although epilepsy can occur at any age, it is most likely to occur among children younger than 2 years of age and among adults older than 65. And whereas there are more than 3 million Americans who live with epilepsy, and whereas each year more than 200,000 are diagnosed with epilepsy, and whereas every 4 minutes a child is born with epilepsy, and whereas 1 out of 10 Americans will have a seizure in their lifetime, and whereas our military has more epilepsy head injuries from serving in the Middle East than any other conflict in our history, And whereas, though many people with epilepsy can lead normal lives, many are forced to live with uncontrollable seizures due to insufficient treatment options. And whereas epilepsy kills more people each year than breast cancer. And whereas there is no cure for epilepsy. And whereas it is critical that all those affected by epilepsy have access to quality, affordable care, and that research continues to be strongly supported. Now, therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners do hereby recognize November 2019 as Epilepsy Awareness Month in Davidson County and call this observance to the attention of all of Davidson County citizens this 22nd day of October 2019.
And that's your motion to approve this?
Yes, sir. My motion to approve.
Now, you got a motion and a second. If you'll go ahead and cast your vote. Okay,
Mr. Walker, can I get your vote, please?
Coming.
Thank you. All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Kincaid, you wanna?
Jeff Crotts, I'm president of our organization. I'd like to thank you for this proclamation.
Pull them on out.
There you go. So long as I don't try to sit down.
Present you a copy of your proclamation, and I appreciate all your work. Yes, sir.
One, two, three. And 1, 2, 3.
Good job, thank you.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate you. I know. Can't help it.
Now, which is Kincaid? Which is? Mr. Kincaid, you wanna say a few words? Do you need to say a few words?
Well, I'd just like to, thank each one of y'all for what you're doing. So y'all have really got this for county, state, and national, and y'all did it for it.
And to be honest with you, without this, and y'all being the only one in North Carolina that has ever did proclamations.
When you first started, and everybody has followed after y'all now.
I am so deeply honored for all that y'all do for us and continue to do for us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next proclamation is the National Hospice Palliative Care Month, which is November also. Commissioner Crotts will lead this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas hospice and palliative care empowers people to live as fully as possible, surrounded and supported by family and loved ones, despite serious and life-limiting illnesses. And whereas hospice and palliative care brings patients and family caregivers to the highest care or highest quality care delivered by an team of skilled professionals that include physicians, nurses, social workers, therapists, counselors, health aides, spiritual care providers, and others who make the wishes of each patient and family a priority. And whereas through pain management and symptom control, caregiver training and assistance, and emotional and spiritual support, allowing patients to live fully up until their final moments, surrounded and supported by the faces of loved ones, friends, and committed caregivers. And whereas each year hospice saves Medicare more than $2 billion by providing solutions for physicians, care to patients, and comfort to families everywhere at any time. And whereas every year more than 1.5 million Americans living with a life-limiting illness and their families received care from the nation's hospice programs in the communities throughout the United States. And whereas more than 400,000 trained volunteers contribute 19 million hours of service to hospice program annually. And whereas hospice and palliative care providers encourage all people to learn more about options of care and to share their wishes with family, loved ones, and their healthcare professionals. Now there it be resolved that the Davidson County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim November 2019 as National Hospice Palliative Care Month and encourage citizens to increase their understanding and awareness of care at the end of life and to observe this month with appropriate activities and programs this 22nd day, October 2019. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve this.
Okay, got a motion to approve it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Cast your vote.
All the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
All right, while that's going down, we got Laura Owens and Becky Daly here to, accept this proclamation.
Just a comment. Thank you, Commissioner Kratz, for reading the proclamation and for your longstanding partnership. Next year will be 35 years of serving Davidson County residents. It's hard to believe. And this year we're commemorating 10 years of the Hinkle Hospice House. So thank you for your longstanding support, for valuing health care and end-of-life care as the medical specialty that it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura.
No, we're just calling that you're blocking Commissioner Walker. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much.
Appreciate it, Laura. Thank you for what you did. Where's my chair? Sit down. I hate to sit down without my chair.
Oh, it's half through.
Chairman,
Yeah.
I've not seen Stephanie, St. Mays come in. It may be that she is so immersed in barbecue things, all things barbecue, she may not have been able to get here this evening.
Okay, well,
We'll just adopt it.
we'll just read the proclamation then. Proclamation for Barbecue Month in Davidson County. Vice Chairman Shell will, lead this one.
Whereas the city of Lexington, county seat of Davidson County, has been designated by the North Carolina House of Representatives as the Hickory Cook Barbecue Capital of Piedmont, North Carolina. And whereas the Barbecue Festival has been adopted by the Governor of North Carolina as the official food festival of the Piedmont Triad, recognized as one of America's top 10 food festivals by Travel and Leisure magazine, named one of the top 10 places in America to celebrate food by USA Today, as well as a top 20 October events by the Southeast Tourism Society, and a part of the Library of Congress's Local Legacy section. And whereas the city of Lexington and Davidson County have been home to 35 successful barbecue festivals, and the 36th annual festival is set for Saturday, October 26, 2019. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Davidson County, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim October 2019 as Barbecue Festival Month, and encourage all citizens to participate in and enjoy the events scheduled throughout October in celebration of the Barbecue Festival's 36th annual event, and prepare for the thousands of barbecue fans who will converge on the city of Lexington and Davidson County on October 26, 2019. This is the 22nd day of October 2019, and Mr. Chairman, that's my motion.
Okay, do I have a second to this motion?
Second.
Okay, if you'll cast your vote.
You know, the real undocumented history of that. That's always the Saturday before my birthday. It's 36.
Wonder how that happened.
I'll turn 37 in November.
Okay, that was,
Actually, it started out.
no photos on that one.
Oh.
Next proclamation is adoption of Adoption Awareness Month, and that'll be, Commissioner Watford.
Whereas North Carolina families are encouraged to share their hearts and homes with youth ages 9 and older who are waiting to be adopted. And whereas every child deserves the opportunity to grow up in a loving, stable home, and adoption is one way to build a family. And whereas caring adults can make all the difference in the lives of young people, sibling groups, children with special needs, and teenagers. And whereas in 2018, 1,455 children in North Carolina were adopted from foster care, with 26 foster children in Davidson County finding permanent homes through adoption. In 2019, 29 foster children have been adopted in Davidson County to this date, and recruitment for forever adoptive homes is underway for 8 foster children currently free for adoption. Whereas the Davidson County Department of Social Services continues to work diligently to place foster children in adoptive homes. And whereas the North Carolina Kids Adoption and Foster Care Network within the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Social Services recruits approved adoptive families with the hope of placing current children in foster care who are awaiting adoption. And whereas Adoption Month is an opportunity to celebrate foster and adoptive families and spread awareness on behalf of the hundreds of children in foster care in North Carolina who continue to wait for a loving, permanent family, as the majority of the time the foster family becomes the permanent home for a child when the child is not able to return to his or her biological family. And whereas the Davidson County Board of Commissioners encourages communities, businesses, groups, schools, faith-based organizations, and families to participate in efforts to recruit permanent, loving families for Davidson County's waiting children. Whereas Davidson County joins the state of North Carolina and the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services in spreading awareness on behalf of the hundreds of children in foster care in our state who continue to wait for a permanent home. Now therefore, the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim November 2019 as Adoption Awareness Month and November the 23rd, 2019 as Adoption Awareness Day in Davidson County, North Carolina, and commend its observance to all citizens this the 22nd day of October 2019. And Mr. Chairman, that's my motion.
Okay, and do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Shep.
Cast your vote.
Can we have multiple seconds?
Dale, you and your group.
Go ahead.
You wanna go down there with them too?
Okay.
And Karen, you
Votes
and,
are in, and that motion carries.
okay, Dale,
7-0.
we're gonna send 2 down for you.
That's good.
That's right.
Mr. Chairman, how many people, are there anybody in this room that can raise their hand and say they were ever in foster care? Never in a million years did I ever think I'd be a county commissioner. That's how important foster care gives you new life, a new direction. And what they do. Bless them, Lord.
Okay. Ready for the picture.
One, two, three. One, two, three.
Dale.
Thank y'all.
As always, we appreciate the support of the body that sits up there. And we greatly appreciate your support of our agency and what we do. And in particular, with adoptions here, Scott and I sit on a committee toward the end of the road on this, where we get to go over what children have been through and what their adoptive families have gone through, the road they have gone through. And we get to make decisions and have an opportunity to approve a great situation for a child. It is our goal always to try to reunify children with their families. But if that ends up being where we cannot move in that direction, to be able to participate with adoptions here in Davidson County is one of the most favorite things that I get to do in this role as serving as the director of this county. And I will tell you, on Sunday morning, I met with a gentleman, had breakfast with him in Asheboro. I was headed out to do a Gideon speaking engagement in Wynot, North Carolina. And I met one of our adoptive, one of the fellows that we approved as an adoptive parent. I had seen his name, we had read through the profiles and had gone through that process about 4 or 5 years ago. And he didn't realize it when I walked in. I was looking for him. He's in my own Gideon camp, but he is so busy with his life with his children, he doesn't get to come to those meetings and those events and those things very often. But I knew his face from seeing him. And I went and sat down beside him and introduced myself to him, and we had a great conversation on Sunday morning about that and how he talked about the process of how he prayed, number one, for the opportunity to be given and to be allowed to have a child, and now 2 children in his home, was a tremendous, tremendous thing for me to hear. And it just makes it all the worthwhile to know that the things that this agency does with the support of this county and our commissioners and all of our employees and staff, I just thank you for all of that. You're all making a difference. We all are. And I just praise you for it.
We thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. That ends all our photo shoots tonight. Next is our award bids and amend the LCMS culvert replacement capital project. And Dwayne, he's still with us. Okay.
I'll move these out of the way just for a second. Bringing requests on behalf of the Facilities Committee to replace a culvert at the Lexington Middle School field that was damaged during the storm earlier in the year. The Facilities Committee has approved this in concept. They have not seen these numbers until tonight, I'm assuming.
Seen yesterday, I think.
Yes, sir. And so this is for the construction services portion of the project. I also understand there were some FEMA dollars that were also awarded. And so we did this bid process, UG compliant, both the design, and then the construction services portion. I also have, Ben Palmer here to help, answer any questions that you may have. And we'll be glad to entertain those at this time.
And this is a culvert,
Yeah, it's a big culvert.
The sinkholes, i.e. the sinkholes.
I just got one question. I know y'all had poly, I never laid any of that, but poly, what's the second, what was the alternate bid?
Polypropylene.
Polypropylene, I have never laid any of that. So y'all feel like RCP is a better product than, I mean, I do, but I know
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
absolutely.
I haven't had time to read up about it or anything to see what it is. Now, you say it's not the same thing as HDPE, right?
It's not the exact same thing, but they're similar.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, everything looks good to me, with this bid.
Bids came back much lower than we thought too, so we were expecting 600 total to do this project, counting all the engineering fees, so we'll be at 478, so much better, more favorable bid climate for this project anyway.
Since this is, got, FEMA money in it, is it a certified payroll, Davis-Bacon Act or anything?
Yes, sir.
So y'all got all that covered?
How much FEMA money we get on that?
About 100.
Yeah.
It's an exact number, actually, 500, 567, but you might as well say 100. The action under the recommendations tonight is, number one, approve the low bid with LT Hedrick Construction, I guess, for
400,922. But go ahead and amend your existing capital project budget, the LCMS culvert project, to the 478,422. 100 being FEMA money and the other 378 being county funds coming from the Article 44 sales tax that you all are very familiar with by now. We have, over the years, you know, that passed a couple of years ago. We've received funds for those things over the years. We've spent them on some things, but I never get notified what that number's gonna be. I kinda have to make a prediction at it, and I've always lagged a little bit behind, to be honest with you. So some of that money has fell to your county fund balance. This removes it out of there, uses it for this project, cause you can only use it for schools and community college or economic development. Right now, we're doing okay on the economic development side, so.
Let's do it.
So is the contract with him 402 or 350?
It's got a contingency in there. I think it's for 350 and there's a.
350.
Yeah, there's a contingency piece, yeah.
Construction price, and then we provided an estimate for contingency, just.
But we don't put that in his contract.
No, I'm amending that whole project by that, yeah.
The
Sorry.
contract 400 and something.
I mean, I just went straight for the total, sorry.
You'll make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve, yes.
The other good thing is, and I'm sorry, members of the Lexington City School Board are here, and, Dr. Wells, and so hopefully too as well, you know, this started, a year ago, I guess, technically. This hopefully gets them done in maybe 120 days, give or take over the holidays and good weather. Maybe by the springs, they'll be able to use their fields, so.
It's gonna end tonight. I'd second.
Okay, we got a motion and second to approve this, requested, project. You cast your vote?
All of the votes in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
When are they gonna start on that? You know when they're gonna start on it?
First time up there,
Take your bow, Dwayne. There you go.
Football field right here.
Football field.
Well, I say the football, their practice field.
Okay.
I'm happy they're gonna be starting in.
All right,
maybe
do I have a
finish by
motion to go in
spring.
closed session?
I'll second.
Got a motion and second to go in closed session. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're going in closed session.
I'm gonna give Debbie this proclamation.
Yeah.
And she makes sure it gets
I agree with you on that. I say you keep trying to buy property next to you, you'll keep on.
That's right.
Steve Trump, I always find a reason.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to go back into open session.
I make a motion. Open session.
We got a second, so we're in open session.
You know something, you just let your alligator mouth overload your hummingbird behind that one time.
How's y'all was filming that?
That's live action. That's from Dusty Rhodes.
The American Dream. You're gonna see all this on YouTube now.
I was wondering what y'all was here for, now we know.
Mr. Chair. All right, we're back in open session, so Mr.
Chairman, in
Attorney.
closed, session, the board considered one matter of real property and gave staff direction for further negotiation. That's all, sir.
Okay, does anything else to come before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Got a second?
Second, third.
All in favor, say aye, we adjourn.
Aye.
Okay.
What else? Oh.
How are you?